so much for joining us today. We really appreciate you making the time. So a very good afternoon. I'm Saashmitta, and this is my co-host C. We are from Venturous PR, a student-led PR agency at Taylor's University. Here we focus on startups and small medium enterprises, and we represent Taylor's University School of Media and Communication. Thank you so much for joining us today, and for our listeners out there. Here today we have Mrs. Hafizah and Mr. Mike, who are retired senior journalists from Bernama, Malaysia. Today we will be discussing how things are as journalists working in a government news agency like Bernama. How are you guys today? Are you guys ready for the questions? Should we just get into it?
Yeah, very good. Yeah.
Yeah, actually, we want to know the topic.
The topic of our interview here today is to get your input and for you to share your experiences as senior retired journalists representing Bernama.
Yeah, we are
ready.
Yeah,
okay, so I'll start off with the first question. Yeah. So as journalists from Bernama, a government news agency, how do you make sure that your work is accurate and factual all the time?
To answer that?
No, not only for Bernama, for any media organization, I think accuracy is paramount. So if you follow the rules in any news gathering for journalists and reporters, you have to follow the simple rule of 5 W's and 1 H. There is where, why, how, why, when, who, and all that, and how. So that will give a clear picture as to what is the news that you all are writing about. Because let's say, for example, you have a fire, you heard of fire, the first thing you'll ask is where is the fire, Then how many people were injured, who, and then how did it happen, a gas cylinder in the kitchen, things like that. So these are the basic tenets of journalism that you have to follow so that you give a clear picture to your reader so that the reader does not have to ask more questions when reading your news, So there must not be any gaps, So these are the basic rules, and this will allow your news to be accurate with no mistakes. The other rule is that when people talk to you, your interviewer or interviewee, and you as an interviewee, sometimes you're not sure what they're talking about. They might say something and then you're not so sure. And then you go and write, then they say, no, that's not what I meant. So it's always, you must have the guts and be a little bit thick-skinned to actually call back the source and ask, did you mean this? Did you mean that? Is it A or B? To clarify. So that will make sure that your news is correct, because the most difficult thing is to write the news, it comes out, and then the source says, no, that's wrong, So that will get you in a lot of trouble.
Another thing is that you also must be sure that your source of information is correct. You cannot just take any Tom, Dick, and Harry to give stories to you. You must make sure the fellow is a relevant authorities. And if you receive a statement from the fax machine or email, you need to reconfirm back from the source. Is it a trusted source? Some people can just fax you with all kind of logos and you just process. That's dangerous because sometimes it might be a fake. So these are the things that you have to take care when you do reporting.
Give you a very good example. In Bernama's SOP, when a person dies, you hear someone so and so has died. So straight away you go and put in the net, so and so has died. We don't do that. We always confirm with the family. If let's say if that person, like recently the former chief secretary to the government, he passed away, in Ireland. So the government can also send an official statement, but at the same time, we also need to check with the family. Of course, the friends will say he has passed on, and all that. No, we must always check with the family. That is the source, the reliable source. Although in social media, the town would have gone to it that this person has passed away, this person has passed away. We might be late, but we are accurate,
I think those are actually really good points that you mentioned. And especially regarding the sources, how relevant they must be to the news story. If not,
Yeah.
why are they being included?
And also, if for example, like disaster, we can interview the eyewitness who is at the scene. You don't take from secondary sources, person who are at the scene while waiting for the police to confirm. So this is one of the ways we try to be fast in sending out stories. That's important for reporters to be very accurate and precise in their reporting if you want to maintain your credibility. Yeah.
Definitely. Definitely.
Yeah.
I agree. Thank you so much for that. I think C can take the next question. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
So we see that a lot of news agencies and websites always quoted Bernama as their source for various issues. And why do you think that is happening? Is it because like the factuality and the accuracy that Bernama is giving out?
Actually, that's quite straightforward because we are a news agency set up by the government under the Ministry of Multimedia and Communications. We were set up in 1968. So we are the news agency of the government. We are a government entity. For example, RTM is the broadcasting entity of the government. When the government wants to disseminate news on its policies, on its decisions, it gives to Bernama as the sole authoritative source. So then we send it out disseminate to all our subscribers who also disseminate in their papers, the radio, the TV. So it's accurate. But unfortunately, let's say you have a lot of media outlets. Let's say for now, you have a lot of social media portals. We also have websites, single websites, platforms and things like that. So when you get a statement, what they might do is to interpret it according to what they want it to be like. The news is skewed. It's not accurate. It is not what the government wants to say. As far as we are concerned, we report as it is. So there are many people now quote Bernama verbatim because this is the original sole statement that came out from the government with no strings attached, no inaccurate news, or they massage the news, as and when and as it is. So the government released a lot of information. And during the MCO for the past 2 years, there was so much of fake news. You have to take a jab, you cannot take a jab, Pfizer, Sinovac is dangerous and things like that. But the government gives it, this is okay, this is available, you can take it and things like that. So those things are important to know. So sole authoritative source of government news.
And besides that also, despite the status as a government agencies, we have to be credible. So we have to ensure that our stories are factual, accurate, fair and balanced so that people will respect us, especially international wires. They will use our story because we're credible. That is the most important thing.
Okay, thank you. First of all, if you guys are the sole from the government, right? And the other sources could quote you after the actual news is out.
Okay, I think I'll take the next question then. So the diligence of Bernama to cover various topics is commendable, truly. It has also led to an incident where Noram Faisal Muhammad Noor was unfortunately killed in Somalia back in 2011 by gunshots. How does this incident impact Bernama and the journalism industry in Malaysia?
Before Norah Fazul, we have been going overseas covering all the war zones. But unfortunately, during Norah Fazul, he was shot dead. That is a sad thing to happen. Whatever, we have taken great steps to ensure that our reporters, before sending to the war zone, equipped with bulletproof vests. Before this, we don't have all this. Helmet also bulletproof. Besides sending them to be trained by experts who have been going, especially the army who have been going to war zone to prepare for any consequences. That incident have taught us a lot of lesson to be alert whenever we are in war zone. But it never stopped us from going to war zone. That is the situation now.
This incident was really unfortunate because we were there in the headquarters and when we heard the news, it was very sad. This shows how vulnerable journalists are, especially when covering war zone report. And for war zone reporting, there are actually special courses undertaken by foreign news agencies. How do you cover war zones? You have to wear a certain helmet, you have to wear a bulletproof vest, you have to wear the media press very clearly. Even then, it doesn't protect you against a bullet. In the case of Arwah Noram Faisal, he was wearing a vest, but the bullet came in from the side to the armpit kind of thing, And fellow reporters were sitting. There were 6 reporters were sitting, 3 in front and 3, and the reporter told me she could hear the bullet coming whizzed through her and went to him. So it was like that, So it was very, very unfortunate. The other thing that was talked about, but not proven, was that the Somalian pirates or the insurgents, when they looked at the Malaysian flag, it looked like the American flag. So America is not not really liked in many of these kind of countries. So actually, when you look at all the flags in the countries, the American flag and the Malaysian flag are the closest, So that was one of the reasons. But anyway, it was a sad loss, unfortunate. We took a lot of action because we also covered the Syrian problem and also the in Jordan and things like that. And Myanmar, we also have people in Myanmar and all that kind of thing. And we also had fellow journalists, not necessarily Bernama, but who were with Bernama, but he survived this. So it's all a matter of luck and where you are and all that. But back home, some of the dangers are like when you're covering in a hostile environment. So you go and cover a political party and your media is thought to be aligned to the opposition party, the other side. So they might treat you very hostile and all that. And also when you cover court cases, when you go and cover court cases, the family comes and they are angry at you. And we have so many instances of our cameraman being kicked by the family members, hit by the family members, pushed away by family members because they're angry that we are reporting all the bad things about the family. So these kind of things happen. So these are some of the risks that we have to take, So we have to be very, very careful where we are. Sometimes we cannot simply show our past that we are reporters and be proud of it and we can go anywhere, in the government buildings, yes. But when you are covering a riot or a political rally, go as a stealth bomber, undercover private investigator, So you're one of them, so they don't know who you are, Maybe when you are in the yellow shirt, you wear a yellow t-shirt.
Oh, no.
When you go to the red one, maybe different color t-shirt.
I disagree with it because there's a reporter was detained by the police because of carrying a yellow kind of t-shirt in his bag without intention. So don't go siding, follow the black group or the yellow group, be neutral. Because the police doesn't know who is the one who is opposing them. So that could be danger for you as a reporter because you have to be covering in the front. Be neutral, wear white, whatever. That doesn't link with any group. So the demonstration is all the danger zone for the reporters. They always carry a lot of mineral water because when the armed forces or the police throw gas, they just need to pour themselves with water. They have to suffer also together like the demonstrators. That is the danger if you go and cover on the ground kind of demonstration, riots, that kind of thing.
I think this has greatly demonstrated that how journalism is a very dangerous field. You go out and you're not sure how your day is going to unfold exactly.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
I remember, sorry to interrupt, I remember during the Penjara Pudu attack, what you call it?
The kidnap one.
Yeah, the doctor, they were all outside there, hearing all the gun, the shootings and everything, very close. And the worst is the Sao incident, the terrorists in Sao. The reporters were just underneath the hill where the commandos, those rebels, they can just shoot the reporters because we don't know where their location. So these are the danger of and sometimes we will take for granted that we are safe. In a true sense, we are in a danger zone to locally in Malaysia, not only in foreign countries.
Absolutely, I couldn't agree with you more that it's dangerous worldwide being in this industry. Yeah, I mean,
it's fun. You have to, it's fun. Just that sometimes you have to be brave.
Actually,
yeah, definitely. Okay, thank you so much for that because like all the instances that you pointed out really highlights the different dangers and situations journalists have been thrown into.
So moving on, right? You have said that when reporting, journalists need to be like neutral, don't choose sides. So have you or other Bernama's journalists faced any legal issues while reporting the news?
No, actually, we have had suits filed against us for various issues, but it was more for inaccuracies rather than any intention to defame the person. It was more or less like, for example, when the reporter sends in the story and the sub-editor does it. And remember, in Malaysia, in Bernama, we are bilingual. So sometimes you get lost in translation, so it doesn't come out as accurate as possible. So we do get a letter from lawyers telling that, hey, this is not what we meant and all that. So we send a correction. So we never really had or
Legal
lock,
suit,
stock, and barrel kind of suit against us for writing wrong things and all that. See, let me give you an example. In a court case, if you have been charged with murder, until the court proves you that you murdered a person, we can only call you, refer to you as the alleged killer, the alleged killer, So we cannot refer to you as the killer or the murderer in our reporting. Until the day that you are found guilty, then we can say you are the killer and the murderer. But if before you go and report and you say the killer said this, we can be sued. So sometimes the lawyers will send a letter and then, oh yeah, it was a mistake, Maybe the drop word, they were in the haste of sending the story fast because it's such an important story. We dropped the word and all that. So we apologize and it's sort of a soft guy. So you must be very careful, especially when it comes to court cases or what they said and all that. So those comprehension of what is going on is important. The names are important and what you say is important. So far we have not any major issues as far as Bernama is concerned.
For example, when a person is detained for certain cases, we cannot reveal their name or even photo until they are charged in court. But unfortunately, of late, we've seen that so many medias have been, writing their names, their position. That is wrong because they have not found guilty yet until, or charged in court. So these are the rules that we in Bernama always maintain. Although we know who they are, we don't reveal.
Like in child
abuse
cases, we don't mention the children, because it impact their livelihood, their future, and all that. Because everybody will know who they are. So until the case finishes, and after that, you must never mention the child's name. So that's very important.
Also, during a case for rape, the father raping incest cases, we don't reveal the father's name because we will know who the children are. So that is also another thing that we have to ensure that we don't reveal the parents' name.
I was in the business desk, so we report a lot of corporate figures, And during our time, there was no social media, no internet, no computer. Remember that there was a time when these things didn't exist. So we had for fax machines coming in, and 20 pages of accounts of companies, And while company A is sending all the 20 pages, company B would have sent other 20 pages, So sometimes the fax machines, A and B get mixed up, So you make a mistake with the figures, So sometimes this company would have made like a $20 million profit. This company would have made about $5 million loss. We mix up the figures, make a mistake, and we go and report that A company made a loss of $5 million, when in fact they made a profit of 20 million. So that is very, very sensitive. It will affect their shareholdings. It will affect their share prices. So these are some mistakes unintentionally committed because of the haste of doing things. Because those days it was fax, and when the fax, the ink is quite thicker. The 5 and the 8 and the 3s, the circles are joined together. So the 3 might become an 8, So things like that. So we have made those kind of mistakes, but we have corrected them. So it is not intentional. But now, thanks to internet, all we got to do is select all, copy and paste, and just put it there. So the figures are accurate as they are, So that's one of those things in the previous days, So I suppose accuracy comes into play here.
Thank you so much. So right now, Bernama has no big legal issues since you guys are following the etiquette of not revealing something unless it's confirmed.
Yeah,
right?
Usually we have good negotiation, discussion with those who are complaining. So we settle it nicely by running the story, corrected version, that kind of thing. So we avoid the court.
Okay, thank you. Moving on.
Okay, that was a bit heavy, but I guess thanks to technology, we are able to also have this podcast recording session. So I guess it's a good thing after all. But speaking of legal issues and making some people unhappy, how do people in Bernama handle hostile and uncooperative parties, especially when you're gathering information to publish stories? Like, for example, just now you mentioned cases, child abuse or like incest and things like that. How do you handle these kind of situations?
We have to be very objective. The other thing is that when you are covering hostile parties, sometimes this personal context is very important. We are for the government, so all the opposition parties my viewers with distrust. But over the years, you can cultivate a personal relationship with the opposition, So that opposition leader might not like your agency because of you work for the government and the government party and they are opposition, right? At opposing ends. But personally, they might respect you because you sort of give an objective coverage. You don't massage their news. You just report as it is. So this cultivation of context is very, very vital for a journalist, So Dr. Mahathir personally. You might be so good that you might have his telephone number, or you might have Lim Kit Siang or Lim Guan Eng, their telephone numbers personally. And now with handphones, those days there was no handphones. To have the telephone number to the office is also quite not so easy. And to have the telephone number to the house, that means you are up there, your contacts are so good, you see. But now with the handphones, they can contact me, I'm a public servant, so it's all easily contactable. You just have to WhatsApp the question, you get back the answer. But this personal relationship is vital in getting news even from hostile parties.
I like to add to that because I myself experienced these issues covering a political party which was once an opposition and very Islamic. They are very emotional at that period of time in 1980s against the main media. I was covering their annual assemblies and suddenly they were fired up. They went out to burn all the newspapers and I was there, as a reporter. It is quite scary, but the thing is that because I have close contact with all their leaders, so you say that these people won't disturb us or won't, injure us, whatever. But we were there when they were burning all the newspapers with all the angry slogans. That's the thing that sometimes you have to be very cool in this kind of phase. Don't panic, just relax, just act as though it is nothing going to happen to you. Inshallah, it'll be okay.
But you see, we are sort of talking about those days when we had very few media, only mainstream media and things like that. Now you have so many news portals and so many individual portals, hundreds and hundreds, and they all call themselves media, So even if sometimes even opposition or anybody for the matter, sometimes they're finding it difficult because during a press conference, there are hundreds of people who are there and they don't know who they are. And we are not sure what they are going to write, you see. So it's not a matter of you're going to get publicity. You might get all sorts of publicity. You might not know that guy might be working for the opposition team. Use the portion that is a little bit does not throw a good light on them. So they will write in that way, highlight all the negative things about you. So you don't know who they are. You've seen press conferences nowadays, so many hands, so many mics and all that. So you don't know who they are. So it's not a matter of getting publicity anymore. It's a matter of getting the right publicity. So you'll be for every one person who writes what you write, 9 other people will write what you didn't say. They will just write anything they like. And then there's no control and they don't follow 4 or 5 W's and 1 H. That so it can be inaccurate and put you in bad light.
I never thought about things like that, but yeah. That makes a lot of sense now thinking about it.
But sometimes if your source doesn't want to speak, look for alternative source, might be he doesn't want to talk, you can talk to the family or you can talk to the secretary or the party. There are so many ways to get the stories that's factual. Doesn't mean from this one person who are very emotional.
Western media in the old days, Western media, they have an agenda, but they do it in a very subtle manner, so you don't notice it. But I've heard conversations between Western media when we go for press conferences. I've overheard them, the way they talk. Whatever news that Malaysia might want to write, and we write it as it is, their main aim is to put Malaysia in bad light. Maybe they don't like the leader, or the leader is very critical of Western governments, especially the American government, or an example like that. So they will always write something that is negative, So even like, for example, we had the May 13 riots in 1969. Even 20 years later, 30 years later, when they write anything about Malaysia, they will refer Malaysia, which was embroiled in racial riots, in 1969. So when the reader, especially from other countries, read, they'll get the idea that Malaysia is still embroiled in racial riots and things like that. The idea is given like that. So sometimes when we read news about Africa, It is as if like Africa is a war zone completely. People are fighting every day and people are starving to death every day. No, that's not true. Africa is still a very good country. South Africa, there are a lot of people who are doing well and all that. Yes, there are pockets of riots and poverty. It is there. We cannot deny that there. But they give the picture that the whole of Africa is doom and gloom, which is not accurate.
I agree. I think that's like generalization then, and generalizing an entire country. And I don't think that's right either.
That's not so much of generalization. It's inaccurate reporting.
Or you can
Maybe
just
worse,
come back to that.
they,
Yeah.
yeah,
the agenda.
they want to write in that way,
Yeah. Then personal biases are also coming in then.
Yes, of course, because nowadays, if you're covering Malaysian politics, a lot of politicians have websites and a lot of news, so you don't know the name, something like that, Malaysian portal and all that, but it could be funded by a certain politician, so that they put him in good light, especially with the elections on, so you increase their profile, their publicity, and what the works they do. So most of them do that, you see. So definitely these are not objective. They want to promote and project their candidate. So those kind of things. So you must be very wary about who is the owner of this website, who finances them, where do the funds come from, So this is the way things are nowadays with social media.
I'll take another question with you. How often do you handle PR practitioners from other organizations?
All too often, because I cover business, so many companies employ in-house PRs or external PR agencies, and their job is to make the company look good, So these PR agencies depend on us, Sometimes their livelihood depends on us, and they want us to write all these nice things and positive things about the company and all that, So we are in touch with them, and they try to have a very good relationship with us, and we try not to be influenced by them into writing skewed things that are not really telling of what the company really is, as far as the financial figures are concerned. But to be honest, we have many companies, several companies, when they send their results, they will give a friendly call, and they will sort of say, can you highlight pre-tax profit, don't highlight this profit or net profit and all that kind of thing. So because those figures look good, don't highlight the debts that they have, things like that, you see. But we have a standard operating procedure where we just highlight those are the figures we want to use, you see. So we deal with PRs a lot, especially when the company is in trouble. A certain company has been said they are selling food that is not halal in their canteens and all that, which is not true. It could have been sent by their competitor, somebody, through another website to put this company down so that the product go down, their products go up. So they use their PR to sort of fight the fire, to combat the fire, to negate and to tell the truth that this is not true, our products are all halal. But in those days, in the days of newspapers, it's TV, radio, and newspapers in the morning, But now it's what you call real-time journalism. Bernama has always been a real-time journalism. So you must fight the fire and combat this negative news and inaccurate news immediately, You cannot wait, If you wait for a few hours, like you are talking, you're in a PR firm or writing PR, the most important thing is to do it immediately, So even when you're sleeping at 12 o'clock, your client will call you, say, we have a problem. You have to solve it, So that you prevent the damage, Can you imagine you say that this sort of chocolates is not halal, Suddenly, everybody won't buy this chocolate, and that thing will go on for 3 hours. Everybody will be carrying that story, So damage will be done. So by the time you come after 3 hours and send a small statement, no, we are all certified halal, is wrong and all that, the damage would have been done. And in people's mind, like advertising, it would have been etched that this is not halal. So as a PR, you need to do fast. And to do fast, you need very good relations with the media, So we deal with the media a lot. They deal with us. They depend on us a lot. But some of the things that they do is sometimes they give so much of PR lines, PR statements and all that, which we are not really interested in.
And my suggestion that public relations officers should go and meet face-to-face with the editors in the headquarters, media headquarters, build up the rapport. So easy. When you call The other side knows you, you know them very well. So it's easy. Because this is what been done by senior public relation practitioners. They come and see us once in a year or once in 6 months to build up rapport, to check who's still in, who's retired, that kind of thing. So this is good.
Many PR agencies employ ex-journalists, and many ex-journalists, because maybe they want to look for better fortunes, greener pastures. Many, in fact, my colleagues, many of them are in PR, and they are an asset to the PR organization because they know how to write a statement that will be used by the media. Whereas those who are not journalists, they will give a long PR statement on the background of the company was set up in 1845 and all these kind of things and all that, which are not relevant to us. For us, come to the point, and you don't have to write long, write short lines, come to the point, straight to the point, use simple language. This is what the journalists do, so they do quite well, is it? So you need to be a PR/journalist to really get your statements used by the media, So that's a very important point.
And Ms. Hafizah, you mentioned some tips and advice that you would like from PR practitioners. Do you have any more to add to that besides the ones that you have stated?
Adding to that, for example, I'm in the general news. So sometimes the public relations statement covering CSR can be so boring for us to process. Make it colorful, give a good picture, not everybody standing in a straight row, posing. No, some human interest pictures that we can use in papers, in the social media, and the story. So there's a human interest to it. I'm talking about social responsibility kind of program, because I always handle it. Because there are sometimes very interesting story related to it, but it was covered up with the company today, donate this is lost in the long statement. That is my advice. Make it more human interest that you can pick up for interest reading. Yeah.
Lastly, strategic communications. It's not for communications alone. Like, don't send statements on Saturday and Sunday like journalists or on the off days and all that, unless it's absolutely necessary, right? So avoid those kind of things. Don't send statements on Friday night. Everybody wants to go to have a Friday night out, and then you're sending this long statement. They might just use one line on that. So those are strategic communications. So you need to know the timing also.
And Sunday, they already have Sunday page, so forget it. Send on Sunday for Monday publication, yes, they got a lot of space for it. So these are the things that you need to plan for your publicity. Yeah.
All right, I think you all have answered most of our questions, and it's a very interesting conversation so far. And there might be a few pointers where we could all use in the futures, and this will be an insightful for our podcast news to be posted, I believe. And thank you so much for agreeing to spend time with us today. Yeah,
you're welcome.
Yeah, and hope we have assist you in whatever you are looking for.
Yes, thank you so much. I just want to clarify that if next time we need more information, can we reach out to you again?
Yeah, sure. I think there's no problem. Just give us an alert in advance.
Definitely. Thank you so much for today. You're our first guest speakers, and we'll inform you and get in contact with Sophia for future plans.